Good afternoon, guys. So this is going to be part 2 of building an Ohana. This little shit is following me. Just waiting for me to turn my back so he can attack me. Watch him. Guess he calmed down. Anyway, this is going to be part 2 of building an Ohana, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. In this episode, we are going to work on building forms, getting concrete poured, stem walls, and basically a platform, which will be the floor of the house, essentially, of the Ohana. So that is what's going to happen in this episode. Yeah, let's get to work. So I came home from work today to this delivery. And this is a lot of wood to be processed. But this is everything that I'm going to need to basically build the foundation of the house. So we're going to be doing a similar house, or our Ohana will be similar to how our house is built. The only difference is we're not going to have posts and piers like underneath my house. If you go under there, there's piers every 8 feet, I think, going all directions. So it's like a grid. But that's because the house is, 30 feet or I think it's 26 feet or 28 feet. And then it's like, 45 feet long, something like that. So it's a much larger space. The Ohana is going to be 16 feet by 28. So since we're going 16 feet, I can actually use 2x12s for the floor joists, and they can be free spanning. So that way it's strong enough to hold everything up. And essentially, there's not going to be any inside walls in the Ohana. There will be a loft area above the kitchen, which is where the bedroom will be. And then I've done some drawings, and then I'll show those throughout. But this episode is basically going to be focused on getting the foundation built. So the first thing that's going to happen with that is that I need to build forms, which are basically going to be 2x12 material stacked on 2. So it's going to be 2 feet high. And then it'll be like L's, essentially, is what I'm going to make. 8 feet long by 4 feet, and then it's going to be 2 feet thick, I guess. 2 feet tall, 2 feet thick. Anyway, like I said, I have drawings to explain that a little better. But I'm going to get some of this pulled apart and probably move these sheets of subflooring into the shop just in case it rains. And then maybe move some of the wood around too so that I can get a tarp over this stuff. All right. That took a minute, but this is all buttoned up. I got all the 2x12s are out here covered by tarps because they won't even really fit in my shop. I don't think I have 18 feet of open space. I would have to go from this wall all the way to the grinding room and would completely block the shop. So all the 2x6s and 2x4s are in the shop. These are 16 footers, so they fit. And then all of my subflooring is against the wall behind the siding there. So I think we're good. Most of this stuff I'm not going to get to right away because the first stuff I'm going to be using is going to be the 2x12s to make forms and then have to get concrete delivered. So this is going to be probably 3 weeks or so to do all this because I know right now concrete is 3 to 4 weeks out. So I just called this morning, and 3 to 4 weeks from the time that I order it. So as soon as I get started on the forms, then I'll place the order just to make sure that I have them done in time. Because if there's cancellations, then they might call and be like, hey, we can deliver today, but if I don't have my forms done, then I won't be able to get it that day. So tomorrow. All right, so finally starting to process this wood, getting some pieces cut to start building the forms. I have some 8-foot sections here. These are 4-foot 3-inch sections. And I just wanted to kind of go over. So a lot of time has passed since my first Ohana video. I think I actually filmed that in the beginning of December. And then even from the beginning of this video, when I first got this lumber, it's been a couple months, I think. So I've been very busy, but a real quick sketch. So the designs for the Ohana have changed probably 5 or 6 times, I don't know. But this is basically what we're looking at doing. So it's going to be 28 feet across and then 16 feet deep. It's going to have a split roof, so lower section, upper section. There's going to be a loft section here, which is where the bedroom is going to be. So this, of course, is not to scale. This was just a quick drawing. This back wall will end up being 6 feet and then going up to probably 8 feet up here where that roof line is. And then this roof line is going to be at about 10 feet and then down to 8 feet over here. So a overview is going to be essentially the split in the roof will be here. The door is going to be there. There will be stairs going up, which will go up to the loft. This corner is going to be a bathroom and then a kitchen area here. And then under the stairs will be storage. Down on this end, we plan on putting in like a Murphy bed. So that there's a second bed in there. But that's basically it. But what I'm working on now is building the forms. So these are the sections that I'm cutting. So this is going to be 8-foot side, 2 foot, 4-foot 3, 2-foot 3. So basically what it is going to be a 2-foot tall, 2-foot wide L. That's going to be, 8 feet by 4 feet essentially. And this is what's going to be the corners. So there will be one of these in each corner of the house. The long side, of course, will be on the long side of the house so that the span between the 2 concrete piers is only going to be 12 feet. So everywhere on here, my span is less than 16 feet. So then that way I can use the 2x12s and I don't have to worry about any central support. So that's what I'm working on. I'm going to get back to cutting and processing this material, and then when I get one of the forms built, I'll be back. All right, so I have all of the forms done, or all the forms built. I have my 8-foot pieces, 6-foot pieces, 4-foot pieces, and then 2-foot pieces. So that'll be all the pieces that will go together to make the big L that I'm trying to make, which is going to be the corner, each corner of the Ohana. So now I have to get all of this moved down to the pad. I'm probably going to borrow my buddy's trailer and I'll just load them up here and then drive them down, unload them. Would be the easiest way, I think, other than trying to carry them individually, but that's going to take forever. And it's raining today, of course, so I will get these moved down there when I can and start assembling them. All right. Down at the pad. So I came out last night. As you can see, I have the forms moved down here. I came out last night after it started getting dark with my laser, and I used the laser to get all the corners marked out. So you can see here with the orange paint where the corners are for the Ohana. You can kind of get a visual size, I guess, of how big it is. But it's 16 feet across and then 28 feet long. So it's tucked all the way back to this side of the pad because there will be a carport that will be coming off the end of the house. So when people drive up, they have a spot to park where they're out of the rain. And then the wall will be here, but there will be a deck that will be extended out about 8 feet. I'm thinking about 8 feet, but we'll see. Yeah, so that'll end up being, there will be piers that I'll put out here. I'll figure out a spot. I might even use like a one of those circular cones that you fill with concrete. I might use some of those and actually pour some piers to put my posts on for the deck. I don't know why I can't think right now. So I'm going to start assembling all these. Wow. Cars driving by. Whew. So that was a lot of work. Sweating still. Awesome. So you saw a little bit in the time lapse of me assembling these, and then I did the rest off camera just because I knew it was going to take a while. So all 4 of them are together now. You can see behind me all of them. So these are together now. So I'm going to go ahead and call and order concrete and see, you know, what date I get for that. I'm assuming it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks out. But these are not done by any means. They're together and roughly in place, but I have to go through and I have to level each one of these. They don't have to be level to each other, but they need to individually be level. So when the concrete's poured, you know, it's a flat foundation. So they have to be leveled. I'm going to try to dig them in a little bit where I can, or if I can. So by code, mosquito. So by code, these pier forms are supposed to be 24 inches tall, and you're supposed to have 6 inches below grade, 18 inches above grade. So I'm doing them 20 inches tall, so I'm going to try to get at least 2 inches below grade. And that's basically, grade is your level of the ground. So I have to do all that, and then I also have to get some rebar, and I get to make some cages basically inside of here with rebar. So that'll be the next steps on this. As I get some progress done, I'll film some more. But these are in place. All right, I'll be back. All right, so I have this piece of rebar roughly in the shape. As you can see, I'm a little bit short. So this is a 20-foot piece. I was hoping I would have just enough to do a full hoop. But as you can see, I'm a little bit short. So I'll basically have to cut a piece to go there, and it'll get tied up with wire. So this is essentially what I'm going to be making. There will be 2 of these in each box. So one high, one low, and then they'll be connected with vertical pieces of rebar. So I just kind of wanted to show the shape of what I'm going for, and then I'll get all these bent up, and then they'll be ready to go into the boxes, which I still have to level. So I'm going to try and get a bunch of this done, and then I guess I'll come back when I have something to show. Okay, so some more time has passed. I'm just not getting to this as much as I was hoping. So here are some of the rebar cages that I built, or I put together, you know, once all the pieces were cut. You saw before I had the main piece bent out, put in a piece there, and then there's 2 of those, and then they're connected by vertical pieces. So it's essentially like a big L, and then that fits inside the boxes with it, you know, a couple of inches inside. Should be a couple of inches inside. So these 2 front forms I actually have set, and I have the rebar in there, so you kind of see how it sits in there. There's some feet down at the bottom, if you can see those. So that's like a, I think they call that a chair, a rebar chair. It's basically a little plastic piece, and then the rebar clicks into it, and it keeps it, you know, off the ground. Because you want the rebar to be completely encased in the concrete, so nothing rusts, and it stays strong for a really long time. So that's my progress. Now I've been kind of purposefully not showing a lot of these steps, just because I don't really know what I'm doing. I mean, I have an idea of what I'm supposed to do, and I've had advice from friends that do concrete. So I don't really want anybody to look at this as a tutorial or anything like that, because I'm, you know, just doing what I think is the right way to do it. Will it work? Yeah, it'll probably work out fine. But I just don't want to say that this is how you do this because I'm not sure that it is. So I'm going to get back to work. So our big girl is actually a big boy. Late bloomer, I guess. And another one. And Jerry sounding off. So of the recent chickens that we got, I believe this one is also a rooster, although I haven't. Obviously that's a rooster. Bodie turned out to be a rooster. But this one, because of the tail feathers, I'm thinking it might be a rooster, but no comb, no wattles. Yeah. All right, well, the forms are done. I called and ordered concrete, and the guy that I spoke to said they're a month and a half out. I'm like, oh, dang. So he's like, well, I'll take your information and someone will call you if it frees up. So I started taking my information, name, phone number, you know, the usual stuff. And then he asked, you know, what I was looking for, how many yards. And I'm like, oh, 5 yards. He goes, oh, he goes, that's a small load. He goes, maybe next week. So apparently they have a lot of orders right now for house pads because there's so much building happening here. You know, people that are ordering 20 yards, 30 yards at a time, and that's why they're backed up a month and a half. So he's going to call me back tomorrow once he finalizes the schedule, I guess, for next week. So as early as next week, could maybe have concrete poured. So that will be the next step, and the next thing you see, I'll probably just do a time lapse when the truck actually gets here. So yeah, that's exciting. I just hope that everything holds together. The only other thing that's going to happen is I'm going with my buddy George today with his truck, and we're going to pick up a load of gravel, and I'm going to use that to fill in around the outside of the forms. So other than that, they're ready to go. So we will see how it holds up. Whew, boy, am I relieved. I'm so glad that this is done. I'm freaking exhausted. So you can see I already got the edging done in this. It's actually setting up. Concrete started pouring around 11 o'clock this morning. It's about 3:45 now. So you can see this is already like getting pretty stiff. I'm just working the edges, smoothing out the top a little bit here and there. I'm not going for like a really smooth finish because it's not really necessary. This is going to be under the house, and really I'm only going to be using the outside, basically 6 inches of these is where the stem wall is going to be built. So man, these things worked awesome. So yeah, didn't budge. I've already started taking the stakes out, so I got the stakes over there. Stakes are all removed. I'm going to continue to work on the edges a little bit, maybe one more time around all 4 of them, and then I'm going to pretty much call it good there. So yeah, whew, this step took me forever. So I was procrastinating on this step of the Ohana build for quite a while. I mean, I think I said earlier in the video, we originally had this cleared in like December. I think it was December, yeah. And now it's May. So, and it wasn't just that. I was busy with other things too. I had to get that paddock built in the back, and that, took a few weeks to do. Yeah, it was probably about a few weeks overall. But that's still not 4 months or whatever it's been. So I'm going to pretty much just call this one good. And I'm going to go ahead and end this. Oh, sun's right in the camera. Still sweating. So luckily, if you saw in the time lapse, so one thing that happened in the time lapse is there wasn't enough concrete. So if you notice at the end of the time lapse, I was dumping big rocks into the boxes to bring the level of the concrete up, which was this one over here was the one that was the last one that I filled. So I ended up dumping big rocks in there, and then I started grabbing concrete from some of the other forms because they were all full already, because I didn't want that to be just all rocks. So I put some big rocks in there. I filled it with concrete from 2 of these other forms, and then I went back and I put rocks in those forms to bring that level up. So, I mean, by the calculations, it should have been 4.8 yards. I ordered 5. I thought it would have been good, and it was still short. Probably that form was probably 2/3 full, so there was a good 6 inches that wasn't filled. So that was kind of stressful. Yeah. So this is going to be the end of Building an Ohana series part 2. And on the next one, part 3, I'm going to be starting to build the stem walls, get the floor put in, get all the floor joists hung, get the subfloor put in, and then that'll probably be pretty much the entire next video. So that'll be part 3. But finally this is done. I'm really relieved. I'll probably have a glass of scotch tonight to celebrate. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. And please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, go back, watch some old videos. I have probably 100 plus 120 videos of all the stuff that I've done on this property since moving here 4 years ago. Well, I guess we had the house just about 3.5 years, but yeah, there's a lot of videos, so go back and watch them. And then I will see you guys on the next video, Building an Ohana part 3. Aloha.